Ella Davar is a next-generation global wellness advocate and nutrition and longevity educator. With over 200 published articles and 50-plus national TV appearances, Ella has become a trusted voice, sharing invaluable insights on platforms like MindBody Green, Forbes, and Women's Health. Ella Davar, RD, CDN, is a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and health counselor based in New York City. Ella studied nutrition and food science at New York University and completed her professional dietetic practice at Priority Nutrition Care at Mount Sinai Hospital, and has over 5 years of experience in health and wellness coaching. Ella began her career at one of the top hospitals in the nation, seeing a wide range of patients, from those who were looking to prevent disease to those with critical illnesses. To further her education, Ella studied integrative nutrition at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Ella draws on her vast experience as a dietitian while also taking a holistic approach to make recommendations that fit each person's lifestyle and health goals to help her clients achieve optimum wellness. Her unique background in both clinical and holistic nutrition enables her to create extremely impactful, individualized plans. In her first book, Cooking for High Performers, Ella helps driven busy individuals streamline their wellness routines and accomplish a healthy balance in life with nutrition science and self-care. In her signature program, The Gut-Brain Method, Ella combines the latest scientific developments in longevity research, wearable devices, and advanced testing with ancient wisdom and traditions of natural living. In her second transformative book, You-tarian Diet, Ella Davar empowers you to break free from generic diet plans and discover a nutrition strategy designed uniquely for you. You-tarian provides the tools and insights you need to align your diet with your genetics, sensitivities, and health goals. Ella's upcoming book, The Foodie Diet, Eat Your Way to Health, offers a cohesive list of resources, priorities, plan of action, and hacks that help her clients reach their wellness goals while managing busy lifestyles in a healthy way. Now let's welcome Ella Davar to HealthGevity podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast of HealthGevity. Today, we have a very special guest, and we're going to ask a lot of questions about diet, nutrition, gut, and of course, longevity. So welcome, Ella. We have Ella Davar, the founder of Gut-Brain Method, which has done a lot in the field of longevity. Welcome to HealthGevity podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Thank you so much for your time. So the first question I ask every time is about the story. I love stories. So I want to know the stories of your personal journey, let's say, how everything started for you when you became interested in health, longevity, diet, and all this field that for many, many years you have been working on. So what was that point maybe? For most of us, it's a turning point. For me, it was by reading a book. I mean, when I was 17, Alan Harrington, the book Immortalist, it made me to think about death and life and health and all of the things. So what was that for you?
For me, it wasn't a book. So I'm thinking about it. Let me give you a little pre-story before I tell you that point.
Sure.
So I grew up in Russia, in this small town where my grandparents lived in a village. So they had to rely on their own garden to grow their own food. And I, as a young teenager, I thought they were losers. I was like, you guys, you can buy this, because it takes a long time to grow the vegetables, to grow the animals, right, for the family to have food. So I, as a young woman, young teenager, I moved to United States. I moved to New York, very far away from organic farming and healthy eating. And I ended up on Wall Street, living a very high-paced, stressful lifestyle, demanding schedule. And that took its toll on my health. And slowly but surely, I found my way back to natural lifestyle. And I realized, oh my God, I have all this wisdom within me. But the way it kind of like that moment, I think when I was around 24 years old, I was in New York City, and there was an OBGYN, the doctor, the female health doctor, that mentioned to me something like HPV. And he said, oh, it's common viral. Every other woman has that. And I was like, what is it? I was young. I knew nothing about health because I was in finance. And he said, oh, it's a precancerous cells. And I was like, did you say precancerous cell to me? I'm 24 years old. So someone, I'm very driven. I love education, right? When I heard that, I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that my immune system is so strong and my health is so strong that those precancerous cells, they have no chance to ever express themselves into something more than that, right? So this is where I started. I started seeing a lot of holistic health practitioners. I tried every diet. I was seeing these Japanese, Chinese people just to see how I can optimize, right? I started exercising. Yeah, I wasn't exercising until then. I started exercising. I became a yoga instructor. I learned how to manage my stress. And then slowly but surely, I realized the connection between food and the lifestyle and how I feel. And I changed my whole career. I became a yoga instructor and then a health coach. And then I got a medical degree in clinical nutrition. Fast forward now, which this was around like 15 years ago, I am now a medical professional in the field of preventative medicine and longevity nutrition.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, I think nowadays, longevity is a word that everywhere you go, you can talk about it. There are a lot of different sides of it. But I want to ask you about what you have been working on, actually, your academic maybe background. And of course, I think you have created a kind of system. You call it You-tarian diet, right? I'm
Yes.
curious, yeah, to know more about it. So please explain how that one started and what exactly you are doing that with that diet. Oh,
After years of working in the field, this is my book that I
fantastic.
trademarked, the You-tarian diet.
Okay.
Before I became a dietitian, right? I tried every diet. I was vegan, I was pescatarian, I was Ayurvedic, macrobiotic. Somehow I thought that someone somewhere out there knows better than I do what's good for me, right? And I need to learn, I need to find out like who has the right advice or the right
Right.
wisdom or the philosophy, right? And then
Yeah.
I got into the science of it when I studied, become a medical nutrition therapist. I studied the nutrition science of all the nutrients, and then I realized forget the quality; it's the quantity that's important. And then when I started working in the field, there's all these women and men that came to me, and because I specialize in longevity, most people come to me. They are looking for optimization. They're not really sick. They're
Right.
looking for like they're already doing the right thing. They're all smart. That's how they get into this field. But they find themselves spinning their wheels. Like
Right.
something is still missing. Something is not
Mhm.
clicking. And I don't know if you know much about nutrition field for health optimization. There's a lot of advice. And most of that advice contradicts itself. There's a lot
Yes.
of advocates for vegan diet for longevity, and there's a lot of advocates for high protein, high animal protein diet, which is complete opposite of each other. And both groups of people have a lot of science to back it up. So I'm someone in between, someone who specializes in nutrition. And most clients come to me, they think I know all the answers, right? Because other doctors just confusing people. And in reality, what I see for myself and for my clients, it's our bodies and our unique individuality. That's where the answer is.
Right.
And the word Utaran came out of my effort to explain when people come to me and they say, I'm a pescatarian, I'm a
Yes.
vegetarian, I'm a
Yes.
flexitarian. And I said, why don't you become a
You.
Utarian? Instead of learning what's out there, you learn what's inside of you. You learn what your body needs, your hormones need, your metabolic composition, your muscle mass, what it needs to thrive, to be the
Right.
strongest, most resilient self. So I bring the attention back to the body to find out what's inside the person that makes them who they are and makes them thrive. And with that, create a diet based on all these tools that I give, the different testing
Mhm.
techniques
Right.
to find out what it is that works for you and find peace with that and stop pointing fingers and asking questions. I can't believe you're doing this. You should be doing this.
Right.
And with that, find the piece that it works for me and it works for you and it's fine, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's amazing because, well, my background also is in nutrition, but
Okay.
yeah, in the old time, one of the most famous advices the doctors and nutritionists gave us was, okay, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. This is
Yeah.
was totally I mean, now we can say is wrong because we don't have one thing good for everybody. So, especially after we learn more about the microbiome, which now we know that is absolutely unique. It's just like our genetics, and we know that we have more genes in our microbiome than the cell genes and all of those stuff. So, absolutely, this Utaran is fantastic because now I think we have to rewrite the whole nutrition science because we cannot
Yes.
tell everyone to do one type of diet. And it absolutely, based on the technologies that now we have, it should be absolutely completely personalized and customized for each one. So this is amazing what you're talking about. And so my
Thank you.
question is this now, that what are the key principles you follow when you're creating a wellness plan for a client? Because as we
Yeah.
said, every single person is totally different, and we have to
Yeah.
have a plan for them. And even not that, you know that our microbiome is changing. So
Yeah.
me in 6 months, I'm not the same person as today. So I have to even evolve and change. So this is what is amazing about what you have done in this book.
I love that you mentioned microbiome. That's my specialty, the gut health. And you mentioned genetics. That's where I start with. We start with genetics, then we transition into gut microbiome, and then into the food sensitivities, food intolerances. And from there, we go into hormones and some other things like methylations, meal timing, advanced nutrient testing. So all of that really helps to put all of our attention into ourselves. And with that, I serve as someone who interprets what their body is signaling to them. And it's different for everyone, right? Some people have issues with skin. So we're looking at the gut health before anything. Other people tried everything and they have no issues, but they want to optimize. So we do genetic testing to really see what their genes are communicating. For others, it's hormonal fluctuations, whether they're going through menopause or premenopause, or just overall metabolism. And we always look at the gut health or the blood because that's where it originates from. All the nutrients gets absorbed. We want to make sure that you're absorbing and breaking down things properly, and all of your organs work properly, right? We do the advanced blood testing to see if your kidneys are working, functioning properly, if your liver is detoxifying, to see what really needs support. But overall, the foundation is what's called anti-inflammatory diet, where most people can benefit from a really high intake of nutrient-dense foods, and there's 6 of them that I can get into. And with that, we're helping to create more balance with all the damage that we do on a daily basis, stress and sometimes not eating the healthy foods, and balancing it out with all the effort of intaking polyphenols, antioxidants, all the goodness that help us to detoxify and to function properly and to offset the damage of daily metabolic functioning.
Well, that's fantastic. So here I would like to 1 or 2 minutes talk about something that probably will be interesting for you or some other people. So by the way, this is my second book, which is HealthGevity Journey. I want to explain a little bit so that you know that how much we are aligned in what you're doing. So HealthGevity Journey was started when for 10 years or more, I read every single nutrition book that I had access to. And I found, as you said, there are a lot of paradox and different things that we said, okay, this is scientific, and this one also is scientific. Why they are different? And I didn't find a book that can tell me this is the path which is unique for you. So what I did is I created a system. All right, here if you see, it's 12 pillars. All right, 12
Yes.
pillars. So based on these 12 pillars, you can start your journey, which is unique. And I would like to here tell you that HealthGevity is standing for what? So HealthGevity has 12 words. H is for high quality sleep, the foundation, the most important thing in longevity.
Right.
E is
Yeah.
exercise. A is adjusted diet, not just diet. Adjusted diet means only the diet for you. And L
Yeah.
stands for longevity mindset. It's so much important that we have to have a longevity mindset. And then
Yeah.
T stands for training brain. Our brain is really important to get exercise so that we
Yeah.
help us, to
Training
prevent from,
brain.
training brain, absolutely. The
Yeah.
H is hormonal harmony, what you talked about, something
Oh.
that should be very in harmony with everything. And here is very interesting. G, stands for GEM or GEM test, which G is genetic, E is epigenetic, and M is microbiome. So these three tests, everybody should do it in order to know everything almost about themselves. So G stands for that. And E after that is, let's say, engaging in community. You know how much important is that to engage with a healthy community, because we are sharing our microbiome. You know, in psychology, they say you are the average of 5 people around you. But it's not only psychological, it's also biological, because we are sharing from our microbiome to each other, right? So
Yeah.
it can actually change our personality even. And then V is vitamins and supplements. We need that because now we don't get all of that from the food that we eat, right?
Yeah.
I stands for intimate relationship, lovely relationship with someone. It's so much important. And then T is technology, biohacking, all of the things and interventions that we have. And finally, Y
Okay.
stands for your quarterly checkup. So what I wanted to say is this, that we need a unique journey for each of us. We cannot follow other
Yeah.
people's journey. So that's why what you have done in You-tarian is absolutely amazing. And that's what I love about it. So now I want to go to the next question, which I think you are going to have your second book, right? Another one, The Foodie Diet.
The third one, yes.
Oh, the third one. Yeah, fantastic. So, Eat Your Way to Health. Tell me a little bit more about that. This one, what is the focus mostly? And share a sneak peek of the core concepts.
Yeah. So my first book was just a collection of recipes. It's called Cooking for High Performers
Okay.
because
All right.
I make all of my food myself. And when I work with
Okay.
clients and I was giving them what to eat recommendations, so that turned into a book. It's just a recipe collection. The other one was more of a guide on how to build a diet. In the third one, which is through the publishing house, because this one I published myself, it's a major American publishing house. They really wanted me to bring this attitude for the people who really love to eat good food. You know, those are the people that usually they don't want to hear advice. You know, they live their whole
Absolutely.
life until they get sick. That's when they start thinking about it.
Yes.
The
Right.
truth is, I became a dietitian and I transitioned from finance world. I became a dietitian because I love to eat good food, you know, and I
Right.
hated
Yes.
diet advice, all the
Hmm.
restrictive advice. I said, I'm going to become a dietitian. I'm going to hack this whole industry and I'm going to play this food game on
Yeah.
my terms. I'm going to create the terms, you know?
Hmm.
So
Yes.
this is what the book is about, on how to love food, have
Hmm.
fun, live life to the fullest, and heal yourself. In short,
Absolutely.
it's basically how to fall in love with the food that loves you back. You know, as a dietitian, my job really is to make sure that everyone embraces the healthy cooking or healthy lifestyle habits. And
Right.
it's my job to translate it into people's language to make it happen for them, you know,
Yes.
because especially in America, people don't like to change. I mean, no one likes
Yes.
to change. You
No
know, it's the
one. Yeah.
hardest thing.
Right.
It's the hard. They'd
Right.
rather swallow a pill, a magic pill, than
Absolutely.
just change their lifestyle, right? Or change the way they think. So
Right.
I try, you know, and it's called the foodie diet, is to excite
Hmm.
people who love to eat, to sprinkle goodness throughout their day, you know, to
Right.
incorporate cranberries into their smoothies, which is the best
Hmm.
source of vitamin C, or
Right.
eat more berries like gooseberries, or eat more green leafy vegetables.
Right.
Put them in your smoothies or add them to your salad dressings, you know, things like that.
Well, that's fantastic because, as you said, people don't want to change and people are lazy. And at the same time, people love to enjoy food and life. We don't,
Exactly. And so do
because,
I.
yeah, I mean, the diet used to be like this: don't eat that, don't eat this, don't. Most of it was about that. And it was a kind of negative feeling because we want to enjoy it. But
Yeah.
as you said, by mixing and changing some other stuff, which later I'll talk about it, we can at the same time eat healthy food and enjoy the food. But I want to ask you about the
Yeah.
challenges that you have with helping people to develop the sustainable dietary habits. What is your approach for some people? Because, people don't want to say, okay, they say, I want to enjoy life. And if I want to live long, I want to enjoy this long life, right? I don't want to fast for 24 hours, 4 times a day, and just live to 100 for what? I want to enjoy this life. And food, of course, is one of those things that I think is very difficult to just set aside. So, what is your approach to challenges that some people have probably to change their diet?
Yeah, so I'm someone who also has a very emotional attachment to food, right? So I hate when people tell me what to eat, what not to eat. Like that's why I try not to be the food police, right? So I only, like I
Absolutely.
say, I don't give a free advice, meaning like if no one asking me for advice, I don't give it because food has a
Yeah.
lot of, that's what my first chapter of the book is, the emotional connection, right?
Hmm.
People connect food to their childhood memories, to the
Absolutely.
memories of their grandparents, and then suddenly this dietitian tells them not to eat it. Like that's
Right.
you can break someone's heart over this, right? So don't do
Absolutely.
that. So I try to find first we find the why. What is your why, right? The big question.
Hmm.
What kind of change are you trying to create and why? Very often adults who live their whole life a certain way, they don't want to change, and not even for themselves. They'll just swallow medication and call it life, right? So when you ask them why, very often they would say, they would what's important to them, what's their why, and they would mention their children. And that's when I asked, like, do you want to be there for your children, for your grandkids later on? And they say yes. So very often they would create changes today because of their children, not because of themselves, and it's still success for me. And then
Right.
when we talk about food and health attitudes, again, I like to challenge people with a little bit of maybe like experiment. I tell them like, why don't you try a 3 week sugar detox? This way, you kind of trick yourself into believing that in 3 weeks you'll just go back to normal. This is just an experiment. And very
Right.
often people end up feeling really good that they don't want to go back to feeling like shit. Or
Yeah.
same thing with like reducing, let's say, caffeine intake or sugar intake. Instead of saying like sugar is bad for you, you should just get rid of altogether. I've had, recently had a policeman who takes 6 packets of sugar with one coffee every day. So I asked him to try, can he do 3 packs of sugar a day?
Right.
He said, you
Yeah.
know what? That sounds like doable. I'll try that. And then he got
Hmm.
used to 3 packets a day. Then
Yeah.
he reduced it to 1 packet a day. And then I asked him, can you do it not every day? One day you drink it
Hmm.
with sugar and you say, like,
Yes.
look, I'm not depriving myself. But the next day you skip your dessert, right?
Right.
And then you had your dessert yesterday and you're gonna have it tomorrow. But today
Right.
you're totally okay with skipping that. And this way, he reduced his sugar to like 1 packet 3 times a week instead of 6 packets every day. So you see, for some
Mhm.
people, gradually slowing down
Right.
works because it tricks the mind into believing that it's like, I could do this. This is like, I've had CEOs or bank owners that come to me and they say like, I have to have a cookie in the afternoon because I have these meetings and I have to be at the
Mhm.
top energy. All these people look
Right.
at me waiting for my advice. And I was like, do you really have to have that cookie, or you programmed yourself into believing? The
Hmm.
same
Yeah.
guy tries different things and then he comes back to me. He said, you know what? No, don't eat the cookies. Now I like raspberries and would do it, And I was like, wow,
Right.
look at you. Or I had people who tell me, I hate cauliflower. I don't like the taste of it. Okay, but then when they reduce the sugar intake, because their taste buds are oversaturated with this strong taste, of course, cauliflower tastes like paper, wet paper, right? Then suddenly they gave it a try and they're like, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I thought. And so
Right.
that is success, because very often those people, I teach them like the way you treat yourself and how you take care of yourself and how you eat, it's going to affect your children a lot more than what you tell your children to do. They'll
Mhm.
remember what you did. And like years when
Yes.
you'll be gone, they'll
Absolutely.
remember how you ate, how you cooked. And that is something that is going to stay with them forever.
Absolutely. And this is exactly in relation with the gut microbiome. Actually, I remember 10 years ago, the first time I heard about it, there was not many books or resources about it, but
No.
I fell in love with this topic and I said, oh my God, this is going to change everything. Because what you said is absolutely right in that term. Let's say the person who loves sugar, we know that it's because a lot of bacteria is in the microbiome, that they love it. So they are forcing us to do it, to eat it. And when we try to reduce it in few days, right, our microbiome is going to change and we will have less and
Yes.
less bacteria. And then you see, okay, it's much easier to eat less. And after a while, you see, okay, I don't have that cravings for sugar and some other sugary foods. So I want to ask you about this, about because also you have a method called gut-brain method. And this is so amazing for me because now we call the microbiome or our gut the second brain, which sometimes I think is the first one. You know why? Because they are just forcing us and our brain somehow to eat what or to do what or not. So I would like to know more about this, about the test that you have, genetic or microbiome testing, and what is your approach and how you relate it to nutrition and advising people.
Yeah, so you are what you eat. You've heard this
Absolutely.
oversimplified statement
Yes.
before.
Right.
However, there's a lot of science behind this
Mhm.
short statement. And
Yes.
from the moment you take a bite of your favorite piece of cake until
Mhm.
you see it in the toilet bowl again, right? Most people
Yeah.
don't think about it. They somehow
Yes.
assume that it's just takes care of itself, right? It's just like
Right.
most people take digestion and gut health for granted. It just works, And then when they see a
Yes.
problem in the toilet bowl, they're like, oh, got to take some medication. Something's off, right? But in reality, there's a lot of processes that go on. And microbiome is the total makeup of the bacteria that digest, ferments the food that we ingest. Because from the moment we take a bite of it, it gets into our stomach. From there, it gets into the
Mhm.
small and the large intestine, where it stays for up to 18 to 24 hours. That's a long time. And
Yeah.
this is where it gets broken down, absorbed, fermented, and then excreted. So all these processes depend on the trillion of bacteria. And a lot of people don't like to think about bacteria because it's not a very glamorous topic. No one
But
wants
we
to
are
imagine.
bacteria, 90% we can say.
Yes. So I test 5 different factors that make up the optimal gut health. Right?
Okay.
Microbiome is just one of them, is a
Yeah.
balance between pathogenic bacteria and the
Mhm.
gut-friendly bacteria that thrives on all the fibers and polyphenols and live bacteria and probiotics. And then there's pathogenic bacteria that gets into our stomach through either unwashed food or pathogens or sugar consumption, stress, or mindless eating. That's what the pathogenic bacteria thrives on. So if we don't have the balanced intake of the sugar and stress with all the goodness, like they constantly are fighting for the balance, right? It's like, which wolf are you feeding? So microbiome is just one thing we test for. We test for yeast, we test for parasites, the infections. Sometimes we get the infections, and that's what triggers our immune response. And when it's chronically triggered, that's what lowers our energy throughout the day. It produces some issues with mitochondria or not enough energy or skin issues or hair issues. But hair and skin usually also comes from absorption. The next thing we test for is digestion, enzymatic sufficiency, bile sufficiency, making sure that your digestive tract is actually doing its job properly, right? And what I found in my practice that most people over the age of 40, because of the chronic stress exposure, very often their digestive system starts to struggle and they do need additional enzymes. I don't usually like to talk about it openly because not everyone needs enzymes. Some
Yes.
people's digestive tract works properly, but what I see is like highly functioning, high performing individuals over 40, they all need a little bit extra support with either digestive bitters or digestive enzymes. So that's another thing. The fourth thing we test for is inflammation.
Yeah.
Inflammation of the gut itself, which is also triggering chronic immune response. And in my practice, actually, you'll be surprised because I work with a lot of models, sports people, like health coaches,
Mhm.
nutritionists. I even have doctors because
Right.
most of them don't know anything about gut health. I don't
Absolutely.
see a lot of inflammation because inflammation
Okay.
is, became popular over the years. So most people know what healthy eating's supposed to be like,
Right.
right? And I mean, I see, but not like terrible, because like I said, I work with
Mhm.
like the healthier population group that wants to optimize for longevity, right?
Right.
But when I used to work in hospital settings, yeah, that's where people go when they're really acute settings or like acute conditions. That's when we had a lot of inflammation. That's where an apple a day, a
Yeah.
broccoli could really create the difference.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So, talking about the microbiome, I would like to know how do you see the connection between this with longevity? I know there are a lot of connections in different aspects, but I would like to explain to our listeners more that what happens to our microbiome if we change the lifestyle, and what is the optimal changes that we can do in order to align it with longevity. What I mean, when I talk about longevity, we don't only talk about longer life or the lifespan. We are talking
Yeah.
about the health span. We are talking about the healthy years ahead of us. So I want you to explain how our microbiome somehow can help us to live healthier and longer by doing some simple things that I know that you have a huge experience in it, but just maybe 3 or 4 points to mention that how it can help and relate to longevity.
There's so many things. Where do I begin? Let's
Yeah, well,
start with gut health for longevity. Number one is the fact that serotonin, the mental health, and how our levels of serotonin strongly depend on gut microbiome. 80 to 90% of
90%, yeah.
serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone responsible for the well-being, for the sense of happiness, is originated from the gut.
Yes.
And yes, there's some controversy that it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, but the precursors of it is originated from the gut, and there's a strong association between those patients with symptoms of depression and
Yes,
anxiety
absolutely. Right.
and low levels of serotonin and microbiome imbalances, which is called dysbiosis. So dysbiosis is an imbalance of the total gut bacteria, and that's what creates low levels of serotonin. And that's now my colleagues out of Harvard developing an entire new field called nutritional psychiatry, meaning that psychiatry and depression, anxiety is now being treated with nutrition, with the root cause. Instead of prescribing more medication, it's being treated with food.
Yes.
Probiotics are being prescribed. Green leafy vegetables, berries, omega-3s, all my favorite things,
That we had to start with many years ago, but since we didn't have enough knowledge, but yes, that's the place exactly, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's where it all starts. And then the next thing is even biological age in DNA. There's a huge study that showed that for every 10 grams of fiber that we consume more, we can lengthen our life extension by 6 months and shorten the biological age, which affects the caps of the DNA, the telomeres, and so that's incredible. So I don't promote plant based diet, but I promote plant-centered diets. It's very important that we consume enough vegetables because our gut thrives on vegetables. And my recommendation is to consume 2 to 3 colorful vegetables per meal. And the estimate is around 450 grams a day, which is 1 pound of vegetables in American pounds. And that alone can help to improve the way we feel, have more energy, and extend our lifespan.
And not only that, I think having those green vegetables just before the main meal, it will help us to actually reduce the glucose spike, which can happen, because of the carbohydrates. So also that can help in that term because, glycation is something that somehow it's aging us, right? It's killing us. So we have to just prevent that. Fantastic. So tell me, when you actually talk to your patients, what are the most common nutrient deficiencies that you observe, and how do you address them? Through the supplementation or maybe changing the diet.
Supplementation plays a big role. When it comes to nutrient deficiencies, a lot of people are deficient in magnesium, vitamin D, probiotics. Yes, most people need support. They don't have time to eat probiotic-rich foods. Some people are not able to tolerate dairy or don't like the flavor of fermented foods, right? So probiotic or fermented vegetable supplements really is my go-to. Additionally, there's some antioxidants for longevity that I love recommending, like astaxanthin and resveratrol. That's also very hard to get through food. But digestive enzymes, that's based on the enzymatic insufficiency, right? So it really depends on the person. But the advanced blood testing that we do, sometimes it's amino acids, what we've noticed, like especially for women with the hormonal changes, like even myself, I recently diagnosed myself with amino acids deficiencies, and I eat normal protein diet. It's not a high protein diet, but it's protein at every meal, So I was shocked to see that I need extra support, especially during the luteal phase when the hormones are really getting imbalanced.
Yeah, absolutely. And this let's say the whole things of the diet is something that we need to teach people again once more. I mean, we need to unlearn what we have learned for many, many years about the whole things what's going on in diet, and just especially about the microbiome thing, because this is one of the most important thing that unfortunately even some young dietitians still they don't have enough knowledge about it. They don't study the latest studies that, and then how microbiome can change everything, even in terms of stress management. Tell me a little bit about this, how stress can kill our microbiome, let's say, or by killing I mean somehow make it weaker, so that after that there a lot of things, or let's say bad things, can happen for our health. How stress can affect even our
Yeah.
longevity and our microbiome. And I know that you're working with a lot of entrepreneurs and busy people and
Yeah.
people who don't have enough sleep and not a good
Yeah.
diet. Yeah, tell me a little bit
No, but I
about it.
love that you mentioned young nutritionists and health coaches, because
Yeah,
the gut brain method program that I created is now offering certification program for the young professionals, that
fantastic.
I educate them on the importance of gut microbiome for longevity. And
Okay.
now we offer certification to be able to educate the young population group. So when it comes to stress, yeah, I've learned it the firsthand, and that's why the gut brain method is incorporating a lot of mindfulness techniques to help offset the damage of stress. Because when our body is in either a physical or emotional stress, we need to remember it's both. It's very often a perceived stress, right? Because it's all emotion driven. Some people think the deadline is stressful. For others who've done it a lot, it's no longer stress, or their body's already like managing it well. So perceived stress is a huge role. So that's why mindfulness techniques help to really like change that. But how it affects,
Mhm.
it triggers the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for fight or flight mode. And when
Mhm.
you're in fight or flight mode, all of the blood goes into your extremities. So you
Yes.
either need to fight for your life, or
Mhm.
you need to get away from it, right? So it definitely gets all the blood flow away
Yeah.
from your essential organs. That's why when
Mhm.
I teach my clients on how to improve your gut health naturally, the first thing I talk about is breath work. Really taking the 3 deep breaths, and this is one of the cheapest, the most effective ways to feel the gut-brain connection, as I teach them how to stimulate their vagus nerve. Vagus
Mhm.
nerve is a switch between sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest and
Mhm.
digest. And this is the thriving mode. When you're already not surviving, you're
Mhm.
thriving. So how
Yeah.
to get into survival mode? You take minimal 3 deep breaths, focusing
Mhm.
on those slow exhales. So I actually stopped my TED talk to
Mhm.
teach people how to stimulate the gut brain connection. Is to take a deep breath in, expand your chest, and slow breath out. And really
Mhm.
focusing on lengthening those exhales. And what people notice is that their mouth starts to salivate, right? Because
Yes.
the slow exhale sends a signal to your brain that you're safe. You don't need to
Yes.
survive. You don't need
Yes.
to
Yes.
fight or try to escape. The
Mhm.
only person who's able to take deep breaths is the one who's not surviving. They are
Yes.
able to slow down. And this is
Right.
really a key with all my entrepreneurs and very busy clients. They tell me, after we clean up their diet, after we optimize their nutrient intake from supplementation, at the end, they tell me it's the breath work that really helped me to feel like I'm thriving. So
Yes. Well,
I
amazing.
recommend 3 breaths before each
Mhm.
meal. And then you might graduate to 5 breaths or even a gratitude meditation. There's a little prayer that people
Yes.
take before they take the food. And I teach my clients to take at least 10 minutes a day or like for each meal to stop surviving and give yourself a gift of thriving. Like the world is not going to fall apart if you just focus for 10 minutes on what's in front of you and nothing else.
Yeah,
So
correct.
that's how I teach to feel the gut-brain connection, to give your body a chance to digest properly, to prioritize digestion, right? Is
Correct.
to switch into the parasympathetic nervous system by taking responsibility for it. Some people need to schedule self-care, and I put
Yeah.
it on their schedule, like 3 breaths before each meal, to really connect your brain to your gut.
Fantastic. Every time I tell people that even though we are in the 21st century, but our brain belongs to hundreds of thousands of years ago and
Primal,
still
yeah.
thinks that we are just
Yeah.
fighting, hunting. So even, when you probably have experienced that when you want to talk in front of a large audience, at the first few seconds, actually your brain thinks that they are going to attack you. So that's why it's a kind of flight or let's say fight, even maybe situation. And when what you mentioned about that breathing, it's amazing. It's a kind of hacking the brain, right? You tell your brain that it's okay, don't worry, no problem, right? So you let's say gradually you go to that situation. But I want to know, since you talked about the TED Talk, I know that you have been to many national TVs, and also you've contributed to platforms like Forbes and a lot of other platforms. So I want to ask you that how has this visibility shaped your mission as a wellness advocate? I mean, what is that? Well, in HealthGevity, we say MTP, which is massive transformative purpose. What is that massive transformative purpose that you have in your life? And maybe I can talk about what we have in HealthGevity.
Wow. How did it transform me? So my whole education been around nutrition. I position myself as an educator of the
Mhm.
public, right? That's my mission. I need to educate people on how to live longer lives naturally, starting from today, not when you get sick, then you think about it. So
Yeah.
how do I do it? All these platforms that you mentioned, they gave me expansion. They gave me an
Mhm.
opportunity to speak to a wider audience. And then over the years, I started teaching other nutritionists and other dietitians on how to do that. Now I also teach it's called personal brand masterclass, because I really feel the pain. Sometimes, it's an overly saturated environment. And now everyone talks about nutrition. Every health coach, doctor, every biohacker, everyone's nutritionist now. Everyone's got an opinion and everyone's talking about it. And for licensed nutrition professionals, just for anyone, if you're really
Mhm.
looking for bigger audience, sometimes these platforms, they just give you a boost of authority, right? So it came naturally for me. I really enjoy working with reporters, editors, TV producers, or conference organizers. And so I've recorded all of their interviews, really how to elevate someone's personal brand. When you build your personal brand and you work really hard, at the end, you really see how like your niche. I don't like to pick a niche. I think it develops over the years. You see who
Correct.
attracts to you, who you really enjoy working, where you
Mhm.
really create a stronger impact, and that becomes your niche. I truly believe in not in choosing your niche, but of creating it, like creating
Yeah.
something. So my niche became gut health and longevity. And honestly, I didn't pick it. It came to me. I healed
Yes.
myself from gut health issues because I had eczema. I diagnosed myself with parasitic infection. So I treated, and since then, I started testing all my clients. And that's how I became a gut health expert around like 5 years ago. And same thing with longevity. I've always been in the preventative, industry, and I worked in longevity clinics. And through work, it kind of like shaped itself into
Mhm.
gut health for longevity through my work. I didn't pick it, I didn't choose it, but now, as you mentioned rightfully, emerging scientific evidence is coming up on proving it. Like even the Stanford scientists are now saying, like years ago, gut health, gut microbiome, it was not taken seriously. They're like, take it to your health food store conversation. No one was interested.
Right.
Now more and more science is coming up and really supporting that everything, like your gut is called your second brain for a
Yeah.
reason, And I didn't
Right.
mention today the enteric nervous system that
Hmm.
has 5 times more neurons
Right.
than your spinal cord that
Absolutely.
connects your gut to your brain. That's why it's called the second brain. And that's why like all of the conditions that I mentioned, skin condition, mental health condition, mood, energy, it's all associated, comes from what you
Hormones.
eat. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Still, I have a lot of questions, but I know your time is limited. So, the last question I want to ask you is about actually my third book, which is not my book, is going to be hundreds of people's books. So, I think aging as a dragon that is killing 100,000 people every single day. You know that we have like 100,000 people every single day die because of aging related diseases, which is terrible. We are losing every single day this huge number. So, my third book is Caging Aging. We need to cage this dragon.
Put it in the
We need to
cage.
stop it. We need to stop it and even kill it later. So, that's why the title is this: Why We Should Treat Aging as a Disease. I know that this is a very controversial topic, but well, people like, I mean, famous people like Dr. Uh, Sinclair uh, directly says that yes, aging is a disease and we have to cure it. So I want to ask you that how do you see the whole aging process, or let's say uh, do you see it like a disease, as a disease, or of course, I know that you definitely know that we can do a lot about it, even by simple choices of lifestyle. But with the technology, mostly I'm talking about, and the advances that we have in AI, and maybe in 5 or 10 years, more and more technologies. How do you think about the whole thing? And because still some people, when you talk to them, they say, okay, aging is something natural and it should happen and it happens for everyone. But we know that we have done a lot during the past 100 years, almost double the lifespan of human, right? So what do you think about this, and how do you see the future of treating, let's say, aging maybe?
I think here what it comes down to is the mindset. It depends who you're asking about aging. Some people don't care about aging, and it comes down to their why. What is the purpose of their life, right? Some people don't care. They don't think about the age as something that they need to prevent, or so that's like the quantity over quality, right? So, oh, the amount of years, it doesn't matter. It's all like based on your DNA, blah, blah, blah. But what we focus on is the quality, right? So how you get there and the quality. And that mindset is strongly dictated by the social norms. So around 20 years ago, smoking was socially acceptable, right? And until people started dying from lung cancer, it didn't become so. And nowadays, like I live in the United States where no one smokes. It's very, I mean, it's especially in the large cities, it's very
Mhm.
rare to see someone smoking. And so
Yeah.
when I travel to Europe, especially in small towns in Europe, everyone's smoking. And I'm looking at them
Mhm.
like they have two heads. It's like,
Mhm.
what are you doing with your life? So you see the social, and they look at me like, what do you mean? Everyone's smoking.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
it's the social norms, right? And the same thing with aging. The more people like me, like Brian Johnson, we advocate for, like, I don't know if you know about Brian Johnson, we work
Yeah, of
together. What he
course.
says is
Yeah,
that
don't die.
he advocates for this mentality around hard work. A lot of
Yes.
us, including David Sinclair, they work really, really hard until a certain time, a certain
Mhm.
age, when they become successful, then they embrace the healthy lifestyle, right? That's when they
Right.
promote these different things, like extreme things that they do, extreme diets,
Mhm.
extreme medication. What I try to do in my mission is to really spread this knowledge and this attitude into a younger population group. That if you
Mhm.
begin early enough, like I
Yes.
began in my 20s, you don't need to be vegan. You don't need metformin to live longer. You need
Yeah,
to make sure you take care of your insulin early enough. You don't eat the
absolutely.
cornflakes until you're 50. And that's how you prevent your insulin from losing its sensitivity. Or you prevent depression, anxiety from working nonstop 20 hours a day by not killing yourself at the office and teaching your body how to thrive while building and succeeding in life. So that mindset, I think it's really old-fashioned, how people used to think, like you work really hard until your 40s and then your 50s, and then you switch into like doing something good for yourself, right? And then you start thinking about aging, or you never start thinking about aging because of this mentality around life. So I'm a big advocate for quality, right? The quality of your years. Like
Right.
I'm only 36 years old, and I've been living this lifestyle, going to bed early, eating really well, and I enjoy it. For some people, this mentality, especially in Europe, it's still like, what? You don't drink? Like, how do you have fun in your life? And I look
Yes.
at that. So this is, I think, fast forward 20 years from now, we're
Yes.
going to look the opposite. Like those who drink, they're trying to die, and those who
Right.
don't drink. So that's, I think, the social norm will dictate very soon what the attitude towards the aging and healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, actually, I have to share something very interesting. In some
Share with me.
cities around the world, there is a study that shows in some cities the number of the nightclubs are just decreasing because less and less
Yes.
people are going to go there after 12.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
as you said, I see, Brian Johnson also talking about that we sleep is the most important thing. And of course, after maybe 15 years of really studying, I myself found that yes, that's why H is for high quality sleep, and not only sleep, high quality sleep. So talking about the young people, you said, I just want to say one thing, and just we finished a podcast, which is absolutely in HealthGevity Nation we believe in educating people because everything starts with the new generation. So
Yes.
we have already started teaching children about the lifestyle. That's why I'm writing my fourth book for children about longevity, which is a sci-fi book. So it's a
Yeah.
sci-fi book for children.
Gamification, right?
Well, yeah, it's the HealthGevity planet, and it's the story of a 9-year girl who goes to another planet and learns. Actually, that planet is Earth 100 years from now, so that a lot of things has changed, and she learns about it and brings the whole thing to the Earth. So it's so amazing that I think we are aligned in all of this about the awareness of health and longevity. And of course, we know that health is first. If we live in a healthy life, we can have a longer life. So thank you so much. And the last thing is the news that I want to share with everyone, which is our project in HealthGevity Nation. This is a huge and the biggest longevity gathering on a cruise ship, which I invite everyone actually to check our website, journey.healthgevity.global. And I invite you also, I hope that you have time by then
Where is it
to
coming
be a
from?
speaker. Well, actually, HealthGevity Journey, it's the called, and our motto is join HealthGevity, enjoy the journey. So it's a journey, probably 1 week or 2 weeks journey that people are going to join us in a cruise ship, that we will have a lot of longevity clinics. We will have hundreds of experts just like you. So we are going to have fun. It's not only about the scientific side of it. We want to make it fun for everyone to come and learn about health and longevity. So this is actually what we are doing, and I hope that you can be there also and share with us the latest topics about diet, nutrition, and also your book. The last thing is we want to know that where we can find more about you, the social media or website. Please share it with us, and we'll put it in the description.
Yeah, my name is Ella Davar, and I have two websites. It's elladavar.com and my Instagram at Ella Davar. And the method that I've created, the certification course, and all the courses that I mentioned about personal branding, and some of the books and guides about gut health, you can find at gutbrainmethod.com. And my Instagram handle is also gutbrainmethod, dedicated specifically to my work in gut health, nutrition, and longevity. And yeah, reach out to us, learn more about our work. And we're also starting a global longevity association. Would love to have you as a member because we're doing these monthly longevity dinners around the world where I unite the most brilliant minds from complementing industries because I
Mhm.
have many different talents in media, broadcast, in business, finance, investments, as well as healthcare and wellness. So we
Right.
unite people from different industries to initiate these conversations about longevity lifestyle, really spreading this longevity lifestyle and also donating money for less fortunate. Because as a young immigrant, I really know what it's like to save
Yes.
money on healthy foods. So I make sure to donate some money to children and families in need who cannot afford healthy foods.
Well, this is fantastic. And last word is our MTP, or massive transformative purpose in HealthGevity Nation, is democratizing health and longevity. This is what we are looking for. We want to bring the knowledge, democratize it for everyone, and even the technologies that they used to be very, very expensive, but now they are getting cheaper. And in the next
Yeah.
few years, definitely they will be cheaper. So I think we can do it together with a lot of other people in this field. Thank you so much, Ella. It was
Thank you for
amazing to
having
have
me.
you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, we will introduce your books to our nation, our citizen ambassadors in different countries, and definitely they can learn from those books. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you.